We are a married couple on a mission, with nature as our canvas and adventure our vehicle.
We're creating a life of purpose and passion, living the unbeatable mind lifestyle. Would you like to become the strongest, safest version of yourself? Our guest today is Dennis Stoika. Dennis has spent his adult life in service to others as a Marine, police officer, supervisory agent for the FBI. He's an expert in reality-based defense, firearms and shooting, functional fitness, nutrition, coaching, speaking, and training. And most recently, best-selling author of The 1% Warrior, Top Secrets to Living 1% Better Every Day in Every Way. Dennis is actively committed to helping people break through their barriers and achieving their dreams. Welcome, Dennis.
Hey, thank you both, Andrew and Casey, for having me on today. I greatly appreciate the invite, the opportunity to spend with your listeners. You live the life as well as I do, and it's great to have communities, right, of like-minded people that are out there to help others, right? What I will say, right, my version, right, is the 1% warrior, right? 1% better every day in every way. So kudos to yourself and them, but my community too, right, as well. And any of those types of people that are living similar type of communities.
Yeah, likewise. Communities of practice are just so important to support and keep us moving forward in the direction we're headed. Awesome. So Dennis, you spent a lifetime in service to others, like I mentioned, a leader, trainer, coach. What inspired you to follow the warrior path?
Yeah. So in my very early days, I played football, like Pee-wee football, right? And so for whatever it's worth, being part of some type of community, even at like the single digits to the double digit age, right? And then moving on to high school and always the captain of the football team. It didn't matter whether it was Pee-wee or all 4 years of high school, right? And so I think some inside me, some from maybe having great coaches. I can tell you that some of those have passed on now, but some amazing coaches, amazing times, amazing teams, amazing players, right? Amazing families, at that 10-year-old range, 8 to 12, whatever you start, little league football, and then moving into high school, a lot of those same people, right? The kids that played Pee-wee football went into high school. So I think a lot of it just starts from being around a good community, being around the right people as a very young person, seeing value to that, having people help me grow myself, right? So it's about, some of that's luck, where we're brought up, and I'm very grateful for having those opportunities and that life that I had, right? And then again, continuing with really a lot of that same core group of people through high school. We had two big high schools actually in our town though. And so we did have some breakup. Some went both ways, right? A little bit to the high schools, but we were amazing. Finished 8th in state one year, my junior year. So, and a couple of us went on to the pros to play football for a short time, and went off to college. I went to junior college for 1 year, and then went into the Marine Corps afterwards, and more leadership training. And I'll try to wrap up your question by continuing to strive to do better every day in every way, right? And so it becomes part of me from being around things, and then continuously trying to find out new paths, new ways to grow. And that comes with having training plans too, right? And so I push training plans. I sit down with my clients every year. November's coming up around the corner, right? So by December, we sit down with everybody and we evaluate what we want to do for next year, right? And, we talk about what books do I want. I have books on my shelf already that I'm going to be reading next year, coming up with a plan, right? And so that, in essence, right, I would say lucky about who I grew up with, people from a very young age, coaches and mentors that helped push me, and then finding out what's best for me and really researching. And I'll say it, you have to invest in yourself, because you can't wait for someone else to just, if you're waiting to win the lotto, right? it might happen, but it may not happen, right? So you have to work hard, and that's daily. You know, growth doesn't happen in a day. It happens daily.
Yeah. So what I heard you say is hope is not a strategy. So don't bank on the lottery, and you have to be committed to your own personal growth, because if you're not, perhaps nobody else will either until you start showing up in the world, showing that you are committed.
And I'll add into that too, right? You are, you know, it may sound a little cliche, some of the things that people talk about, but it's true. You are who you surround yourself with, right? And it doesn't mean don't have friends from a long time ago, or don't meet with people that are just awesome and they're doing whatever they're doing. But on the other end, right, I got off a coaching call with my marketing funnel guy, right? He's helping me grow, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, people have to be, whether it's book work or a coach or a mentor or a program, right? Whether it's just books, podcasts, we need to be doing something that grows ourselves, and in many facets, right? That's what integrated warrior training is. Mm-hmm. So it's working on, I like to refer to it as the body being balanced in relationships, because other people might refer to it as health, wellness and relationships, right? And so Mark Divine, Untitled Mind, has 5 mountains, right? And so I like to kind of simplify it to 4 and really stress relationships, because a lot of times when we go get coaching or when we go get training, it's single focused. You might go to a yoga studio. You might go to the CrossFit gym, right? You might go to a martial arts place, right? You might go to a coach, maybe together as a couple for couples counseling or something like that, right? But there's not a lot out there, in my opinion, right, that is holistic, that is working the body being physical, right? Working out, making sure that we're sleeping, the nutrition that we're taking in, our diet, right? The quality of the sleep, things of that nature, right? The being, which is the spiritual, mental, emotional well-being, and working on mental toughness and emotional wellness, right? Emotional resiliency, the intuitional awareness piece, and then balance in our lives, I like to refer to, right? Because you do need to work on yourself, and that you do need to make yourself the priority, because if you're making yourself a priority, you show up better in all aspects of your life, in all your relationships, right? So you need to make yourself sure that you're a priority. And the balance is, if I take care of myself, I still need to determine what's most important, whether it's a spouse, whether it's a boyfriend, girlfriend, parents, right? Grandparents, kids, work, coworkers, you know, making it all work, right? Making it all work. And then that leads into relationships. And I believe, unless you're going very specifically to some type of counseling or coaching for maybe like a couples therapy, and it could be just one person going for that, by the way, right? When you get outside of that, there's not enough push. Because, and you can go to a specific person for something like that, but you can take a program that's integrated training, right, that I offer too. And when you're working on yourself and you're working on mental and emotional pieces, believe me, right, and Casey's got the big smile, and now Andrew's got the smile, right? You're working on both of that. And there's a lot of tools, right, as a coach, that you develop within programs. I'm a coach in a couple different programs. There's another one I want to join just to get like another 50 different nuggets and tools, right? Once you have what I believe to be a proven path for people over about a 6-month period, it takes somebody, right, to define kind of what you said already. Who am I? What is my purpose, my passion, my principles, right? And then you start working on strategies, and you spend some time with yourself with breath work and visualization and meditation, right? You create a training plan for yourself. You start moving the ball forward. You decide what's important to you that you want to work on: yourself, your relationship, your business, a part-time new business for you, right? Your job, whatever's important and celebratory that you want to have in your life, right, is what you work on. And, you know, you can see unbelievable amounts of change in people in 6 months. In 6 months, probably less than that. That depends. It could be more than that, 3 to 12 months, right? It depends on the individual, how slow someone is, how fast someone is, how much time they have to devote, how much maybe they're stuck in their boo right? Their background of obviousness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Things that are inside me that I don't see, but I have, that I maybe don't admit to, or I can't see. And I need coaching for someone to be real with me and say, oh no, yes, you are. Right? Mm-hmm. So, but my daughter, I'll share, right? I love it because, we don't think about ourselves always, unless you actually sit in meditation, right? Or contemplation, and you think of, how does this make me feel? What is the emotion I'm feeling? What is anger over this how does it make me feel, right? These are things that we do in our coaching, right? And we sit with ourselves and stuff, right? And we have big results. And it's that, by the way, right? When you do that for yourself, you become more authentic. Mm-hmm. You become more authentic. And when you're more authentic with yourself and you know yourself better, right? And again, that's your stand, that's your core values, and that's how you now lead yourself in life. So to finish with my daughter, she's like, Dad, you're not normal.
Yes.
Okay? You're definitely not normal. You're like, nobody else. Because at the end of the day, people don't sit and do this. This takes time, right? It takes some time daily by having AM rituals or PM rituals, right? And journaling. You guys are into it, both of you, right? Mm-hmm. I know you're both living this type of life for like who we hang out with, right? The average person has difficulty. And that's why, again, I will say, I love to refer my mantra, right, is 1% better every day in every way. The 1% warrior, by the way, what does that mean? It can mean two different things. I'll start with the 1% warrior is just trying to grow 1% better every day in every way. So I too much of our society, right, especially younger folks, right, kids at whatever younger age, we see things and we want stuff now. That's what the American society anyways, we want stuff now, right? But kids see stuff that, on TV and whatever, they're on TikToks and all this other stuff that I don't even know some of this stuff, right? I have to go to the girlfriend's daughter to find out what's going on with these things, right? But we see stuff in the media that's not reality, right? And this type of stuff helps bring us in, helps us love ourselves of who I am, right? Again, having that authenticity. Mm-hmm. So I don't maybe feel the stress and anxiety that I have to live up to something that is not me. Does that make sense, right? Mm-hmm. What do you guys have to say about that?
Well, yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, right?
So much information.
So yeah, I guess in response, Dennis, the type of training that you're talking about here that you offer is appealing to me. Telling a little story from my background is, over the years, I've been pretty good at maybe training one domain, maybe two at a time, but never could quite pull it all together to train the different, like you mentioned, Unbeatable Mind has 5 different mountains or 5 different domains. So if my physical was really strong, then perhaps my mental and emotional might not be a focus. Or if I was focusing on learning something, college per se, then maybe my physical lacked. And, over the years, I was kind of looking, and I didn't realize I was looking for it, but I was looking for the integrated training that you're talking about. And I think that's where the power is in drilling down and finding out the purpose and the passions and your principles that you mentioned, the why behind it, what you're doing, and why training in each area is so important for balance. Right. And then
Andrew, I wrote down just a thing or two also. I'll take some notes as we talk so I know to come back to some stuff if I can here and there. Right. But what you said to a lot of coaches too, right? I'll say, everybody's different. And so I'm not, if a client can ingest 5 mountains or 10 things or 4 things that week for homework, awesome. Okay. But I can tell you, right, from my experience, that people generally just need another 1, maybe 2 things to work on right now. to get better, do it repeatedly so it becomes part of you over time and then continue. So even if you're looking at integrated training, and when we create a training plan for people, right, we're primarily focusing on one or two areas. So like you said, I have a coach, I'm going to give you an example of one client that I'm coaching now. No problem. He's in his 50s and he has zero problem with the physical aspect of what we do. All right. He's up every morning. He's doing burpees. He's doing yoga. He sits and meditates and all kinds of stuff. Right. Where he needs to be is the mental and emotional aspects to bring out a lot of the boo and where he wants to go with business and have confidence and things of that nature. Right. So you'll still focus on multiple things. Right. But you're going to concentrate, right, on those one or two to really grow in those areas. And it becomes difficult too. I've also had training, that says like, if you're really good at something, that's what you should be working on, right? And if you're like, I don't build my websites, I don't do my funnels because I would need to work so hard in order to get, if I was at one, because I'm like, I'm a white belt if we want to trade it to martial arts, right? I'm a white belt in funnel building and website building and stuff, right? I hope I'm a black belt in coaching and self-defense and a lot of other things that I do, right? So sometimes we hear that we need to focus on the things that we do well in order to be the master of those areas, right? And I think sometimes that conversation makes sense, but I think when it comes, that's like might be with like growing your business or something, right? The reality is you have to, when you look at physical, mental, emotional well-being, you can't afford to have, just because I'm strong physically, only work on the physical, never leave, you're just going to leave the mental and emotional, right? So you probably won't show up with a whole lot of emotional IQ, emotional intelligence, right? And so everyone, no matter who you are, right? And I think this is where our schools lack. I think this is where we get a lot of training and learning from our coaches and mentors in our life, whether they're football coaches or uncle, a parent, maybe a mentor at work, someone that might be older than you, might have more years on the job, right? I've been doing something for 20 years longer than you, right? Where you occasionally meet with them. It's about finding how to work again and be emotionally okay and mentally okay with things that you do. And we've lost a lot of tolerance, as we look at 2020 also this year, right? And how great would it be for more people to be trying to get coached under making sure that you sleep better, get some diet and exercise, right? So I have less stress and anxiety in my life, and work on when things are hard emotionally, right? And mentally, that I'm okay, that I've survived all my worst days already, and this will be okay too, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I've often had the thought that how powerful these practices are, just learning how to breathe and learning how to redirect your focus. And I often think, well, how powerful could that have been for me if it had been started much earlier in life, like in a school system per se? And I don't, how much do you see that most people are focused on the physical as opposed to mental, emotional, just as a result of our society and culture?
People like to work on the easy. They don't like to work on the hard.
Yeah.
Right? And that's funny because like in my coaching, the hard is like the CrossFit type work. We don't do CrossFit, but it's the functional fitness, right? The hard that we do, it's could be last night part of our workout was a 10-minute kettlebell piece, right? As many reps as possible in 10 minutes. So, a piece of what we do. And that's the hard. For some people, the hard is what they love. The hard is easy for them. They like the way it feels, right? But they can't sit 10 minutes in silence. Right? I mean, okay. Right. And it's awesome because Casey, that brings up, one thing that's so important for learners. If they don't have a coach telling them or, someone that they're learning under that's done this before. You cannot just jump into meditation. It won't work. You will not be successful, right? This is why we start with breath work, and you get control of the monkey mind a little bit, right? Thoughts that are randomly popping into your head, and they're always going to continue. It doesn't matter whether you've been doing meditation for 10 years or whatever. It doesn't matter, right? When I try myself even longer meditative practices, it becomes harder. And so that's what I love about, even if you came to a camp that I offer, other people offer, whatever, right? It's a challenge too, because you might sit and do yoga or meditate, but it might be, I do I promote 20, 30 minute workouts every day. Mm-hmm. Right? To me, if you're doing something intense 20, 30 minutes every day, do a longer yoga practice once a week, or go out for a run, a walk, the dog, hike, something like that, longer, again, a bike ride, for a longer week too, get out in nature. Awesome. Right. But, the 20 to 30 minutes is important. But then challenge yourself to do something a little bit longer, especially when it comes with yoga or sitting with yourself, right? You will find that it's very uncomfortable to sit maybe longer than 10 minutes if you normally just do 10 minutes every day, right? Mm-hmm. And that allows the people to more focus on themselves. So I do, Casey, think that our younger people just don't have it. No. And I also think, though, that it's also partially focused within the United States, right? So I think a lot of some of the practices that we incorporate are Eastern tradition, right? So yoga in the United States still, if you went to a yoga studio, they're primarily doing movement still, right? Not every place, right? But every Wednesday night, we do yoga in my program. And I make sure that there's durability training in your routine, right? Or at least available to you if you want to come to yoga. I have some people that, it's okay, I can't convince you. It is what it is, right? And sometimes it's just the amount of time. I just can't devote any more time, right, to training. So to me, it's about maximizing our training too. If I have a minimum amount of time to train, my students have even less amount of time to train for the most part. It's about maximizing that. But Casey, I'll also find out that even adults, though, right? There's plenty of people that are in their 40s, 50s, 60s that have not done this type of work. And so it doesn't matter if you could be 13 or 12 and start needing this training, right? Or you can be, I have one client right now who's 59. Okay. And I'm in my 50s also. So, yeah.
Yeah. 50 is the new 30, right?
Hey.
Yeah. 50 is the new 30,
right? I believe, right, if you're continuing to live the 1% warrior life, and I didn't hit the second piece, I'm sorry. 1% warrior, I said, was 2 pieces. So apologize. 1% better every day in every way. That's number one. And if you live the life of 1% better every day in every way, you become the top 1%. You're in your 50s and you feel and look like you're not 50, right? You feel and look like you're not 50. And for those people that, so many people that I worked with 20 some years ago, still in law enforcement, that I keep in touch with, right, or recently retired, and or whatever, high school, maybe college for some people, right? You look back and they might have gained some weight. Maybe they had a couple, 2, 3 kids, and maybe they haven't gotten weight off. And there's others that are doing great. They're out there running miles or doing whatever too, right? But that's not the majority. The majority is people tend to let themselves go. People tend to focus solely perhaps on their kids, and they're putting their kids in sports and things of this nature too. And that's awesome stuff. You should be that coach and that mentor and be pushing your kid to get better and trying things and failing too, right? In life. But you can't forget yourself, and you cannot forget the relationship that you have with maybe a spouse or a loved one as well, right? And your parents and other family and stuff too, right? And so all those things are very important. And if you put yourself aside, you're not going to be the 1% warrior, perhaps. And that doesn't mean that you're not going to excel in it doesn't mean that you're not going to be married 50 years. It doesn't mean that you're not going to be wherever you're at in the business, right? So whether it's your own business or an entrepreneur, like maybe an executive at a company or whatever. And it doesn't even mean that you need to be an executive at a company, right? All this works for stay-at-home moms, right? It works for anybody that has any type of job, right? What I will say though, sometimes it's my fault that I would maybe refer to executives, and others in the coaching business refer to that. And you want to know why we refer to that? Because those are the people overall that understand the value that comes from working within.
Mm-hmm.
Professional athletes, Olympians, actors, right? In order to be a professional athlete or an Olympian, you are the best of the best. Some are given God-given talents, no doubt about it, right? But the difference sometimes between winning or losing a football game could be inches. The difference between, right, winning or losing something at the Olympics could be, again, inches or a half a pound or who knows what, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that comes, again, from working within too, right? And having a plan and working internally, mentally, emotionally, and getting stronger. It's not just the physical push, right? And it's also obviously working the specifics maybe of a sport. If it's a sport, obviously you have to be good at it, right? But a lot of it is mentally trained, right? Mentally trained. This is why people get coaches and mentors, maybe to go from that bronze to the gold, or the win of the Super Bowl, or whatever it may be.
Yeah. You know, what I hear you saying, Dennis, is, talent only gets you so far. And unless you're willing to apply yourself or apply that talent and hone your skill set, you're probably just going to show up as average and not uncommon.
Andy, 100%. I think I'm guessing that both you and Casey, and I know I have someone that's on my mind right now that I thought was going to do more in life because of their natural ability.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, if you do not do the work daily, at an elite level, it becomes you're just average. You're no longer uncommon,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you can be the uncommon mom, right? You can
Exactly,
be the uncommon anybody. It does not
Mm-hmm.
matter, right? Hence, like my daughter saying, "Dad, you're not normal."
Yeah. And and we're not talking about looking at this from an ego standpoint, right? We're just talking from how you show up in the world and interact, and I think you touched on this a little bit earlier, but I'm going to bring it back around to this point is, you're doing it for yourself, but that's not where this training stops. It's also in service to others, to show up better in life for the people you care about, the people you work with, the people you serve.
Absolutely. So that's my purpose, right? I mean, if someone reads the book that I have, or we have that further discussion, my purpose is service to others, right? And I've been doing that for a long time in the Marine Corps, in law enforcement, right? A local and federal level. And I probably don't touch on it enough in my book, but there's probably a small piece in there somewhere, right? But humility, right? So yeah, it doesn't come from our ego. You are humble, right? And you have to be transparent. So having humility and then being transparent are two huge factors of leadership, right? And you must be able to lead. One chapter in my book is on leadership. Mm-hmm. So again, the book, right, too, by the way, every chapter 1 is who I am. Chapter 2 is growth. Chapter 3 is strategies, tools, and practices, right? And then we go on to talk about different aspects: functional fitness, yoga, nutrition, self-defense, that I believe is important for us to be able to take care of ourselves and our loved ones too, right? And we have a chapter on leadership, and then we finish with my epitaph, which every chapter has homework. I want people to do a little bit of work too, right? So that you develop your own integrated training plan, and there's ideas in there on how to have some challenges and some stuff, right? It gives you enough to get started, right? It gives you enough to get started. If you've been doing nothing, or maybe if you've even been doing something, you look at something else and say, that's a good idea, right? Even if you're in, because for people that are already into self-help, by the way, I continue to buy books from other people and read. Mm-hmm. I continue to want to train from other people and read. I ask coaching friends of mine sometimes a favor. I have this going on. What do you recommend, right? Is there a book that is this a similar issue or a problem that you've had, right? And not only do I talk to other coaches, right? Even as a coach, we work with other modalities, right? It's great to have a chiropractor friend or a therapist friend, right? It doesn't mean that you have to go see that person, right? But it's nice to be able to also refer people to others, experts, right? That you know and trust also, right? Part of that community, in case people need other help, right? So,
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of the coaching process, right? Coaching is co-created. It's not the coach just telling you what to do. That is not how it works, right? And co-creation meaning there has to be participation both ways, and that creates the buy-in, right? The buy-in that you've agreed to do this, right? And so when we show up back in 2 weeks, then this should be done, right?
Right.
And again, when we work on one thing, I find we started getting on it a little bit. Too much at one time is not good. So I believe that you should journal. And by the way, I hate journaling myself. Okay. It's very hard for me. But my son also used to hate reading when he was studying, going through years of schooling, until he found what he loved, right? Which is music. And now he reads about anything jazz related, biographies of people, right? Music theory. So when you have something that you really love or need or want or desire, right? Those are the things that you should be focusing on. Those one or two things, Andy, right? Like, right? That and then you can see some big growth in those types of things. And when you get the ball rolling after 4 or 8 weeks, if you want to maybe add something else and eventually let something drop, that's cool. Because once you know you can do it, like if all of a sudden breath work daily becomes like your workouts daily, probably don't need to journal it anymore, right? But until then, this is the thing too. I love clients, and maybe you guys can share some of the story too. Diet and food is always troublesome. Oh, I have a good diet. I don't need to journal it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're 6 weeks in, and we take your measurements and we do your PT test, right? And this is where you're at. I'm like, yeah, okay. 6 more weeks later, you're kind of still there. I'm like, and it's, it's not always about weight. Sometimes it's about how your clothes fit and things, right? Whether we're getting stronger. Mm-hmm. But when your intention is that you think you're eating well, but you refuse to journal, maybe you'll learn that you need a journal if it's important to you, right? Yeah. What do you think, Casey or Andrew?
Yeah, I think if you're refusing to journal about something specific, you're probably lying to yourself just a little bit, and there's some reason why you're uncomfortable with it. And that's the area that you want to lean into. That's where some of the growth is going to happen if you just shine some light onto that topic or that area of your life. That's where some breakthroughs happen.
Yeah, I think that's where most insights for myself I've had journaling, just being able to pick up on those patterns and seeing things on paper, repeating to where it's just not a mental thing that I can easily block away.
So one of the things in law enforcement we say, right, if you don't write it down, it didn't happen.
Right.
Okay. If you don't write it down, it didn't happen. Right. So that's kind of the stance that I have too. It's just like a lesson learned in life. It doesn't have to be law enforcement. It's with coaching. It's with anything. It's just a phrase, right? Yeah. What do you guys do? You love journaling? Hate journaling?
Yeah, for me, it was a evolutionary process. I think what I mean by that, Dennis, is it started out as me going, I'm just gonna hammer it out on the keypad or a keyboard and just type it. And I wasn't experiencing the types of growth or understanding or depth of understanding that some folks were telling me that they were getting from it. So I decided to start handwriting it. And for whatever reason, there's just some connection there. Just the act of slowing down and writing your thoughts out was so much more positive for me and so much more revealing. It stuck with me as opposed to just, oh, okay, it's done. I typed it out. I'm on to something else. It sunk in. There was some recognition of what I was thinking. It wasn't so automatic.
So whatever we can do as a coach, right, to get a client to journal is the utmost important, right? Mm-hmm. I will tell you, it's my least favorite to get them sent to me like via like pictures of the page, all right? Because it's really hard to actually open it up and make it big and look at it and whatever. But you know what? If that's what makes it easy for you, then awesome, right?
Yeah.
But usually I require journals weekly from clients. But if they're going to go that route, then I ask them to do it every day. And I will review it every day instead of weekly, because it's just if you're going to be sending me text messages or emails every day, then I need to review them every day. So
and I think there's in doing that, it's revealing to the client, your coaching client, but it also helps the coach unravel and unpack things for you. You had mentioned background of obviousness or boo, the things about ourselves that we can't necessarily see, but somebody else can help us uncover. And just that act of journaling out your diet, your nutrition, your sleep habits, your workout, your time outdoors or time in nature. And then you also, as a coach, get to see what things throw them off, perhaps. And that's kind of where the magic happens, or one of the places where the magic happens is, okay, did you see what just happened there? So you got a curveball thrown at you, and in your day, your training plan went out the window. Why was that? Let's talk about that. There's never going to be 100% perfection, but perfect effort. And then developing that awareness is where the money's at.
And that's why, by the way, too, right? We bookend our days with a morning ritual and an evening ritual, right? So one of the questions I'll share, right, with everybody that's listening is we should be asking ourselves at the end of the day, are there any unresolved issues? What went well? I'll give a couple more, right? What went well? What didn't go well? Is anything unresolved, right? Is anything unresolved? And then why, right? Then you're also asking yourself, what went well? Awesome. Why did that go well? What maybe didn't go so well? And it doesn't mean that you're going to have something in that category every day, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything was great, right? But you also have to ask yourself, right? You're asking yourself these questions because if you don't ask yourself these questions, how do you get better, right? Is there anything unresolved? To me, is one of the even if you're saying like I had a good day, you can have the greatest day in the world, but something could still be unresolved, right? It is a question in coaching I don't think enough people use and stress in an evening ritual, PM ritual. So very important to bookend your days. And by the way, some things that people we're talking a lot about journaling today, which is cool. And you might journal some things every day, and there might be something else that you actually journal every week. If I have a client that just cannot stand it, then they have to start somewhere. So great, spend time with yourself. Can you give me 1 day a week? Can you give me 1 day a week where you sit down and journal at least? That's a start versus journaling all the time, right? And I have some people that just journal, they just sit there and journal pages. And I've had clients that journal pages, and I'm like, that's awesome, but where's the focus on the paper? You might get something out of that eventually, but I'm reading through stuff and it's like, oh my God, you're just telling me like, I don't need to know like everything that happened in your day. You don't need to know everything that happened in your day, right? So that's called front side focus, right? That's about understanding when you do your training plan, what's most important to you, right? What's the 80%? There's so much in our lives, right? And so that we have that is the next shiny object, right? What's that? What's that? This is on. So-and-so, Fox News alert, whatever.
Right.
I don't have a TV in my house, by the way. Okay.
Nice.
Don't own one. So I haven't owned one in a long time, and haven't had TV in, God, I don't know, 15, 16 years. I don't know. Okay.
Truth be told, there's probably not a lot that's worth spending your time on, from a developmental and just quality of life standpoint.
So, there's nothing wrong with, we all need downtime. We all need to chill. Okay. And that doesn't mean that I'm always going to be picking a book up for that. Right. A book might be that for somebody, but I'm not normal. So my books are always about learning. There is no book in my house that's like a story or a novel on something. That's just who I am. I don't know. Right. So that you can read, obviously, for relaxation. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I do watch some television. I might watch a movie on a Friday or Saturday night with my girlfriend. Right. So it's not like I don't watch movies or something like that, right? But I prefer not to have it here, right? Because to me, that doesn't fit into my 80%. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I'll ask you, especially for those that are listening that have kids, one of the things that I hear from moms and dads, especially right now with a lot of kids being schooled at home, a lot of kids are not actually in the physical schools right now throughout the country, right?
Yeah.
And I'm hearing screen time. My kids on the games. My kids are now online at school. This is where they're living. This I can tell from, I believe, all of our ages. So, I'm from the, you rolled your window up.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Polaroid cameras, right? The cube flash, those types of things, right? I didn't grow up with a computer, right? And so these things are a factor in our lives, right? And the technology is a factor in our lives, which can make things easier and it can make things more difficult. But if you're not spending some time with yourself, whatever that may be, 30 minutes reading, 30 minutes of podcast, 30 minutes of a program, 30 minutes of breath movement meditation, right?
I had a friend once tell me that, this is kind of a broad brush stroke here, but I am 50% of all the failed relationships in my life, or the failures in my life, are at least 50% mine, if not 100%, right? So where we spend our time, what we do, how we show up in the world, how we respond, who we spend it with, it does matter. And if you're not getting the results you want in your life, then take a look at where you're spending your time, where you're putting your attention.
I mean, again, a lot of, maybe they're cliche to me and you because we live this life, and for maybe some that don't, it's new, right? But if you can continue to do the same things and achieve the same results, and they're not the results you're looking for, that's just madness, right?
Absolutely.
This is why we have to work on fear. The question is why? Why? So what are the underlying issues that someone has that they're not moving forward? Mm-hmm. Do they have fear of failure? Has someone always told them you're never going to amount to anything? Or has someone said, you can't do that? But there's always the kid that made it out of the inner city. There's always a kid that made it to the top. There's always someone that found their love of their life, right? Because they continue to try. This is the fall down 7, get up 8, right? Sometimes people, I tried it, didn't work. Cool, right? I did this program, it didn't work. Well, why didn't it work? So I'm just not going to do it anymore. It's called moving someone from their pain to bliss. And growth, by the way, is not always enjoyable. We are going to face aspects of growth which are hard, that we have to work on. And sometimes people, again, they don't have the tool within inside them to face the fear dog, right? Mm-hmm. To move them from facing the fear, the pain that they believe is going to come with it, to bliss. And that comes with what? Interdict, I interdict the bad thought.
Mm-hmm.
I say bad thought, whatever. I'd interdict the thought, right? I can't do this, or whatever it may be that's popping in your mind, right? Interdict, redirect, right? No, easy day, right?
Yeah.
1% better every day in every way. This is just what I needed. I mean, whatever someone's like mantra might be, right? Or to redirect. And then it's about maintaining with positive visualization and goal setting, right? And then positive visualization, right? And then we finish with goal setting.
Mm-hmm.
I need to do one more, or I can get this done. Let me create a plan. And this comes back to OODA loop 2. Observe, orient, decide, and act. Military term, right? Using some different coaching as well. A very quick tool that people can observe something, how their thoughts are, orient themselves with it, make a decision, act, and you just continue the loop. So, what are your thoughts? I think a lot of it is the fear again, some pain that people just can't get started.
Yeah, the 4-letter word, right? The F word, the fear, holds so many people back, and I think it also is perhaps responsible for so much anger that we're seeing in our society right now. Fear of loss, fear of change, fear of the different. And
Fear
a
of the
lot of
unknown.
the unknown, right? These, and most of the time, they're not necessarily true or rational. And I don't mean that from a psychological standpoint necessarily, or a defect standpoint, but it just is a process. As humans, we're wired towards the negative.
So again, I've taken some notes, right?
Yeah.
So what you just said, one of the things I tell friends of mine, family of mine, coaching clients of mine, you just said it. You just said it. We fear stuff because that's what our makeup of our body is. Okay. That's what our mind tells us. So we can either choose to let our mind run our lives or us run our mind. Right. Mm-hmm. And because you said it, and this is what you said, I'm just going to say it a different way. People worry about a lot, an awful lot. But I'm gonna throw out a number and say 99, probably more than 99% of anything we worry about never happens.
Mm-hmm.
It never happens. You just worry yourself, and you make the stress and the anxiety for yourself. And believe it or not, that probably shows up with those people around you, providing them stress and anxiety too, right?
Probably in ways that you don't even realize.
Yeah. Absolutely, right? Absolutely. And so you said it, and I it's something that I push, and even the best coaches, even myself, right, will have something going on in their life that you even have to remind yourself.
Just because somebody's a coach doesn't mean that they're not struggling with things or have challenges. Perhaps we've just found a better way or a different way to process and deal with those that moves us along a little bit faster, But one of the things that you mentioned there that is part and parcel of this is failure. And I think that's also been looked at in our society as a dirty word.
Yeah.
And, looking back at my life, for decades, I thought failure was, I was a failure if I didn't get X, Y, and Z done or accomplish this. If I had a business that maybe didn't do as well as I thought it would. And once I was given the tools to reframe that through the integrated training we've been talking about, I realized that, no, I didn't necessarily fail, at least not in the sense that a lot of people think about it. I learned a way not to do something. Yep. And that's a positive, right? So now I know that I'm not going to do A, B, and C, but instead I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And that's the power of it, right?
Look, I mean, you can get lucky with something, no doubt about it, right? But the reality is, especially businesses, right? You could fail 9 times before you have success, right? And I don't, whatever the stories are with, the light bulb, whether you fell about 99 times, 100 times, 1,000 times, different things that I've heard and read,
right,
before you create the light bulb, right? Look, in order to grow, you need to challenge yourself. And if you're challenging yourself enough, you may fail.
Mm-hmm.
right? You'll likely fail, and you should be accepting of failure, because like you said too, Andrew, then you know that didn't work. And if you want to do something, if you have purpose, passion, and principle with something, or for something, or towards something, and you want to make it work, then go for it, right? And this comes back to that mental and emotional wellness, because for some people, they can't handle the failure, right? They refuse to internalize that. They believe it as bad. They don't see it how you just saw it, as good. Great, doesn't work that way. Right? I learned it doesn't work that way, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, no one wants to fail, right? But again, if you're trying to push yourself 1% better every day in every way, and you're trying to become the 1% warrior, it's likely that you're going to have some failures along the way, and you should.
Yep. It's part of learning. One other part of that, though, that you had alluded to earlier that I want to bring back around is a community of practice, or perhaps who you're hanging around with, who your support systems are, where you're spending your time. I think there's a lot of people that you can hang around with, family, friends, and I'm not saying you shouldn't spend time with them, but out of love and kindness, they tend to keep you wanting to ask you to keep your bar lower, right? Don't strive too much. Don't put yourself out there too much. Don't try to expand your life too much, because there's only pain out there. But when you reframe that and you start spending time around people and listening to podcasts and reading books about success and how people have actually achieved these things, it changes your dialogue and what you're hearing, what you're telling yourself, but you're also building some inoculation or some immunity towards the naysayers, the people that think they're trying to protect you, but perhaps are actually holding you back a little bit.
Yeah, so I have two things I want to follow up with that. Those are, first of all, I probably could have hit more in my book in the chapter of coaches, mentors, and communities of practice. One of the chapters. I want to say this to your comments, right? So, family is not a coach. Family is not a mentor. Family is not even a community of practice. Okay. It's very, I'm not saying that you can't have a very supportive husband or wife or a father. I'm not saying that, right? But I'm saying more often than not, they have too much ownership with you. They've known you since you were born if they're your kid. They know you since you're born if they're your uncle. You've been married for 20 years. They don't have a third eye, a third perspective, a nonpartisan view. They're not co-creating with you, asking. They don't have coaching skills, right? So you're going to get more of the, you can't do that. That's an example, okay? That's an example. So they're really the worst. They're going to tell you possibly what you want to hear, or they're going to tell you their opinion. Oh, yeah, I never liked him as a boyfriend. That's not a coach working through, well, why is the relationship not working? Mm-hmm. What are you doing on a daily day to make it work or not work? You get my point? That's not a coach. That is not a mentor. That is not a community of practice, right? I wrote something else down. What else did I write down that I wanted to say? Not spending time with me, I wrote down. Yeah. So this is common. This is common. I don't care if it's someone that's going to a CrossFit gym, a yoga studio, they go to a book club on Friday nights. Someone is trying to better themselves, right? Some way. Someone's trying to better themselves some way. But when I do that, sometimes that comes with, I'm no longer spending time with you on Thursday night. So if it's my girlfriend, my boyfriend, my kids, right? This comes back, and I said it at the very, 50 minutes ago or whatever it was, right? Body being balance. Mm-hmm. If I'm going to grow myself every day in every way, to get 1% better every day in every way, to be better for me, to be able to be better for everybody else, right? That may come with someone in your life saying, you're always busy, you don't have time for me anymore. Or self-sabotage. when someone's on that diet or that exercise, or they're trying to get extra sleep, right? But their spouse is cooking this, or they're not supportive of it in some way, right? They're up with the TV late at night when you're trying to get sleep, whatever it may be where you're trying to improve and there's not support. What family can do, even if they're not in agreement, look, I know spouses that are, one is in amazing shape and the other one is 100 pounds overweight.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. They're living different lives in different aspects of whatever, but they love each other and things are great, right? No big deal, right? But where is support for certain things, right? In relationship, and it comes body being balance, relationship, right? Health, wellness, and relationship. So it again depends where people are focused. So even if someone doesn't want to come along with you on the journey, are they supportive or is it sabotage? So, and that, by the way, I could have wrote more about in my chapter in that section. I did not, but it definitely comes out when I coach people. Yeah.
I think there's a second book here. You had mentioned, this is one of the questions I had for you, is the 4-day immersion camp. Can you talk just briefly about that? And that's mostly for Casey and I. We were like, oh, wait, that sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah, so it's something that we started offering recently. So as I'm getting to a place in my business, right, where I'm trying to grow and provide more to people outside of just where we are outside of Washington, D.C., is what can I put together on and kind of model even some of my coaches and mentors, some other things that they're doing, right? Mm-hmm. So if you can't be here with me on a weekly basis, right, I offer a 2-day self-defense camp. It's a reality-based self-defense. And I've offered them in the past, very specific to women and women's needs as well. We'll offer a couple of those a year. And what I'm trying to do now, look, COVID's been bad. Like, no one's signing up for anything, places, people aren't traveling. So not a good year, right? So hopefully next year we'll be able to see more people with the book out and getting more of what we do together, right? But in the online university, hopefully people will get attracted to some of the things that we do too and then want to come personally, right? But 2-day camp is self-defense. It has a challenge at the end of day 1. And actually, I have a camp this weekend. So tomorrow, I have with my students, part of the package with my students is they get weekly self-defense, functional fitness, yoga. They get a monthly challenge that we do, usually on a Saturday or a Sunday. It could be physical, mental, emotional. It could be homework. It could be cold showers for 10 days. It could be something along the lines. It could be a presentation that I do. And then we have the camp, the yearly camp, and they get the online university for free. It's included. But if you can't be here, we have a 2-day camp, self-defense. At the end of day 1 is a optional fitness challenge. And everything is scalable. When you come out to the camps, right, and I'll get to your 4-day question in a second, but everything's scalable. So, you don't have to feel like you have to be 19 and be able to run all day, because it's a long day. I don't care if you want to bring a tent and bring lemonade and sit for a little bit, right? Take as many breaks as you want. And when you come out to a camp, and part of the 4-day, by the way, is the 2-day. Okay. Part of the 4-day is the 2-day. So if someone needs to take a break or whatever, right, the training, by the way, is layered. So whatever you're learning first, you'll continue to do. What does that mean? If I teach a gun defense, right, in the first 20 minutes, and then we move on to a second technique, well, we're going to drill that gun defense for 20 minutes, add a second technique. We're going to drill both of those, right? So continuously throughout the day, we're going to come back to everything we've done. We're not just going to go from A to B to C to D. Tomorrow you're going to come back and you'll be like, what did we do? Right? So people, you'd be amazed, especially because I need to explain what Krav Maga is for people, right? Specifically Commando Krav Maga, which is what I teach, right? The whole other podcast on the differences between Kravs and what Krav Maga is contact combat. Anyone could technically say they teach Krav, and then who did you learn under, and then all this other stuff, right? But 2-3 gross motor skills. So you're walking away. It's not like crazy jujitsu, a lot of steps, or karate. It's where you have to do this to punch or block this and then spin around and kick and do whatever, right? 2-3 gross motor skills. We're talking about surviving violent confrontations. It's not about staying in the fight. So for your listeners that maybe never even heard of what Krav Maga is, right? Specifically Commando Krav Maga is what I teach. It's about surviving violent confrontations. It's not about staying in the fight. Doesn't mean that we don't still teach good grappling and striking. We incorporate that in my programs too, right? Day one of the 4-day though is coaching. So we will create an integrated warrior training plan for everybody. We will introduce persons to yoga that maybe have never done yoga. We'll introduce people to meditation and visualization though, for people that do yoga that don't do that. And we'll introduce breath work as well, right? On day 3, the second day of the 2-day thing, right? Too, we also start out with an hour of yoga, because most people after the day of self-defense and then optional fitness will be like, hey, I've been on my feet all day. My body hurts, right? So we'll incorporate some yoga into that too. Day 4 is functional fitness. That will be, right, including what I promote. And believe me, I am a huge fan, right, of the 20, 30 minute a day workouts, high intensity, as hard as you can hit it. Sometimes even as low as 10, 12 minutes. If all I have is 10, 12 minutes that day, then do something for 10, 12 minutes hard, right? There's no excuse not to do something physically every day. I don't care if it's 100 burpees in 10 minutes, if it's 50 burpees for you or 25 burpees for you, or wherever you're at in your life, right? I promote not quitting. I promote working to your capacity, a high level for you, right, on most days. And we're going to teach people on day 4, kettlebell, sandbag, body weight, and have some workouts. So we get people living the life of small implements, not 7-foot barbells, a tool that I can have in my home. I am all about, Andrew, teaching people tools that I am a coach and a teacher. I don't want someone to just go to a class necessarily at Gold's Gym or wherever, right? I want to be able to teach you how to lift the sandbag, how to lift the kettlebell, how to put program your own workouts, because someday I'm not going to be here and everyone's not going to be in my gym forever. And when COVID happens, like now, or something else happens someday, that you actually have the tools yourself, mentally, physically, emotionally, to actually work out by yourself. And I physically can do these things with small implements in my house. A handful of things, I can get a full functional body workout. And we also refer to our stuff as fighting fitness, by the way, because I believe if you're working HIIT routines, high intensity interval training, whether it's 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, or massively for 3, 4, or 5 minutes, which is kind of like a round in UFC, okay? We're training even our fitness like it's a fight. Last night, we did a kettlebell routine. It was 3 times on the right of 1 swing, 1 clean, 1 snatch, 1 clean and press, 1 clean and squat. 3 times on the right, go to the left, 3 times on the left for 10 minutes. Boom, 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 boom. It's not stopping. You never put the kettlebell down, right? And look, if someone can't do that, they can do 2 a minute. Everything that we do, right, that I promote too, is all scalable. It doesn't matter if someone's doing 100 next to you or you're doing 50. And then that's the community again coming together, right, to push each other to all grow.
So we've been going quite a while here. This has been a great conversation, Dennis. One more time, your website.
Modern Era, ERA Warriors.com, right? So you can go on there, and if you have any questions, you can email me from there, right? My email is Dennis, DENNIS, Stoika, STOIKA, at modernerwarriors.com, right? Almost everything that we got is on there, right? The book will be on there. God, it should be on there already, right? My funnel guide, but you can get it from Amazon right now too. It is a very good description of what we do, the coaching that we do. It gets you started, right? And believe me, when I say it started, it's enough. It's work. If you read the book and you do the homework at the end of the chapters that I'm asking you to do too, you will come out with something great from it as well. And check out our Facebook page, right? Modern Era Warriors on Facebook. And there you can, like, Dennis Stoika. I'd rather have you go to the Modern Era Warriors. I'll set you up in there, get you in a Facebook group as well. And from there, people can get linked up to our online subscription. That will be on the website shortly as well. Everything takes some time. After the book, it was my next goal. Like I said, 150 videos to start. Plenty of material to get you going to what we do, with more being added every month from things being taped as well. So I look forward to seeing people that want to live this way, to give it a shot, right? Or whether it's somebody that has never done this, or someone else that's been in even other programs, right, that weren't successful, or you are successful and you're just looking for another big challenge, right? Something else that they're interested in. And Andrew, thank you much.
Well, you're very welcome, Dennis. Hey, so thanks for taking the time to be on the show with us. Semper Fi, brother.
And Semper Fi. All right. Very good. Have a good one.